episode 67. And if you are a new viewer, welcome to our knitting group. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back each week. You can find me on Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram as Katrina Knits, and you can find me on Ravelry as Katrina's Creations, and all the groups and my patterns and everything are available over there. I will put links down below in the little description box. And if you want to contact me personally or send me pictures for our show and tell segment, you can find me at KatrinasCreations@yahoo.com. So let's get started. What I am wearing today, I'm wearing the Christina cowl. I made this I guess about a month or so ago. And this is a pattern by the Cozy Up with the Stitching Sisters. And this is one of their patterns. And it was knit in a bulky yarn that I got from a Knit Crate box. So it's very warm, it's very soft, and it feels good on my neck. I've had a lot of knitting time this week. We had a snow and ice storm, so I actually worked one day this week. I was scheduled to work 2 days, and the second day the library wasn't even opening till 1 o'clock, and I would have been scheduled to get off at 3:30. So I couldn't see driving in 45 minutes each direction for 2.5 hours, especially because the snow emergency plans were in effect. None of our trucks were going out, so I would have been sitting in the office making telephone calls to all of our people to say, we're not coming. So anyway, I didn't do that. I stayed home, so I got lots of knitting time in. So let's get started with all of the projects. I have made a lot of progress on my On the Spice Market. Let me hold this up for you. I think I'm going to be finished with this week. You can see right here is where I was last week. And I've knitted this far, which might not look like much, but my rows are now 200 stitches across. So here is the beginning. And then it comes all the way down here. This is much bigger than what it looks once it comes off the needles, because like I said, I've got over 200 stitches on here right now. And in the beginning, the sections down here, you can see there's like some black strips. Those are actually done with, it's called Queensland Sugar Rush. You can't see, well, there you can see. It's not Sugar Bush. There is a yarn called Sugar Bush, but this is called Sugar Rush. And it is Queensland. It's made from the viscose of sugarcane. It's extremely soft. It does tend to be a little bit splitty, but it's not horrible. But it is really, really soft. The yarn that I'm using for the color sections on the Spice Market calls for like 6 or 7 different colors for each of these sections in between the black. But I actually just chose to use a variegated yarn. And in the variegated yarn, there are some black sections, which when I did this section down in here, I actually cut those black sections out because with the black background, the stitches weren't showing up. But now that I'm finished with these sections, now I'm into just the straight variegated, and there's a few little rows where you put the black in. But these sections have some wide open spaces. So as you can see right in here, this row is actually getting into a little bit of black. It's starting to get darker. Here's what I'm knitting off of. Here you can see the black that I'm getting ready to knit into. And I'm actually pulling this off like a sock blank. You can see how wide it is. It's about maybe 3 inches across, and I'm just pulling like this and knitting right off of it. And this yarn I got at my local yarn store. It is called Barocco Glee. And here you can see all the colors, and that's pretty true to color. And you're supposed to knit it lengthwise, like, like this, and scrunch it together to knit. And I'm not doing that. In other words, you would actually knit this whole section like together like this. So it would be really, really super chunky. I'm not doing that. I'm, like I said, using it, pulling it apart like a sock blank. And the contents of this are 70% wool, 30% nylon. So if I have leftovers of this, it could very easily turn into socks. In fact, I know some people that actually made socks out of this. So I think I'm still on my first one of these. I will be getting into the second one very shortly. But I bought a whole bunch of these because I wasn't sure how far it would go. Because using it as a strip, there's 6 yards, which would be 18 feet. But when you rip it apart crosswise, I wasn't sure exactly what I would get. So I bought a lot. It was on a $2 yarn table, so I figured I couldn't go too far wrong. And I really like the colors because, you know, they're the purples. There's all different shades. There's almost... It goes from a purple, there is a red, and there's kind of a cherry color, and then it goes almost to an eggplant kind of color. You can see it right here. And then it goes into the black from there. Which, yeah, it is an actual black. I mean, it starts out like I said, almost like an eggplant purple, where it goes so dark it looks black, and then it goes into black, and then it comes back out again to the brighter. There's even some pinks in here. You can see right there. So, my colors. So, anyway, I'll have lots of this left, I think. So, I've been working on that. And then, I've been working on my hitchhiker. And I've gotten a good ways on my hitchhiker. And this little bag, if you watched midweek this last week, and I will put a little card up here. If you see the little letter I, if you click on that, it'll take you to it. I actually put together a spot down in my, what used to be the dining room. We've never used it as a dining room, only because we have an eat-in kitchen and there's only 2 of us. We don't need a formal dining room. So we've always kind of used it as a catch-all room. It's for music. We have like my grandmother's organs there, and my husband and I play some instruments down there. And we have like a little mini office. So it's kind of been the catch-all room. But I wanted some place to store my project bags because they ended up sitting all around my feet in the living room, and it was like a big pile of bags that I was tripping over. So anyway, I did some project bag storage. So if you want to watch that video, it is up. But anyway, I'm using this bag, and this is a fabric bag, and it's a Christmas bag that my sister-in-law actually gave it to me. There was some tea, and I forget what else was in there. There was a knitting pattern in it, and some tea, and there was something else, and I don't remember. It's horrible. I don't remember. There was something else in this. But it's working perfect because I can put it over my wrist, and it fits easily in my pocketbook. So I think this is going to be a sock knitting bag because it's just perfect size for it. But right now, it fits my hitchhiker. I don't know for how much longer. This is a Zauber ball. I'll show you the tag for it. This is a Zauber ball, and I don't think it even has a colorway. I think it's just a number. Yeah, it just says number 459. So I think it's a shame when they make beautiful colors and they don't give it a name. It deserves a name, not just a number. Anyway, this is what the yarn looks like, and the colors are pretty true to color here. And this is what it looks like so far. Get this opened up. Here is where I was at last week, and I've knitted across here. So you can see it kind of starts in a turquoisey color, and then it goes down through different colors of purple. So yeah, I'm liking it. The hitchhiker pattern does not have these eyelets. You can see the eyelets right in here. I just put them in there because I thought it just needed a little something. Otherwise, this is a very simple pattern, and I like it. I've made several scarves out of it. It's not like a shawl type. It's not a deep shawl. It's more neck scarf type of thing. But it does get a little boring because it's all garter stitch. So I just threw some couple rows of eyelets, and I'll put some more as I go. So that's been that project. And I'm hoping to get that finished by the end of this month because I want to enter it in Must Love Yarn has a Hitchhiker knit along, and it runs till the end of the month, so I'm hoping to get that entered in there. Then I have been working on my poncho that I really want to get finished, and that is in the Katia paint. The color, again, is a number. It's number 53. And this is what it looks like. It has, there you can see some more of the colors. This is kind of a rust color that's in it. It's looking orangey. It's a deep rust. And here is that particular pattern. And it figures I stopped mid-row. But you can see where I was last week. There's my stitch marker. And I can't open it all the way up. I thought I had been really good, and let's see if I can do this. Anyway, here it is. And I've showed this for quite a while now. I really just want to get it off the needles and get it done so I could actually wear it. So I'm hoping, I don't think I'm going to finish this week, but I am definitely hoping to finish the On the Spice Market, which is a gift from my mother for Christmas, by the way. I'm planning way ahead. I do not want to do Christmas stress knitting. So I already have a present for my daughter made. I have a shawl for her made, and this will be a shawl for my mother. Then I just need to make a shawl for my daughter-in-law. So, and I might make one for my sister-in-law. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, in my family, there's not too many people who are knit-worthy. Most of the guys are kind of warm-blooded. They don't wear like sweaters and stuff. I've made them hats before, but that's about it. My husband doesn't like to wear sweaters, and he doesn't wear hats outside. That he's got a bit, but he doesn't like to wear hats outside all that much. And I even asked him, I said, would you like a pair of socks? And he's like, I don't know. So yeah, and my husband's family really doesn't. They're not into handmade gifts at all. I don't know. They just aren't. So I don't spend my time doing it. I've done it before, and yeah, it's not worth my time. So anyway, but my mom and my daughter-in-law really enjoy homemade things, and so does my sister-in-law. So yeah, so that's who I will be making things for. And I've worked on my cozy memory a little bit. I got 3 squares put back into it. If you watched a couple episodes ago, I ripped out 30 squares because I wanted all the squares going the same direction. And initially they were going like in a sunburst shape, and I just found it entirely too stressful to keep that pattern up. So I ripped things out and put them back together again. So I've knit 3 more. So I think that makes 9 squares out of the 30 that I ripped out had put back in. But these are the 3 I put in this week. There's this one and this one. This is actually some of the color from my Keeping You in Stitches shawl that I designed. This is one of the colors from it. And then I'm working on this one. I ran out right here, and I'm a couple rows short. And I actually have some more of this. I've just got to dig it out to find it. Because when I unraveled some of these, because I'd already woven the ends and trimmed the edges down, I didn't have quite enough to finish. So this one I've got to find the rest of this ball so I can finish it up. So that's the 3 that I have done with that. Now we'll talk about socks and tendinitis. Yes, I've had a history of tendinitis before. I've had cortisone shots in my wrist because of tendinitis. I think from knitting, I knit all the time and it doesn't normally bother me, but I think because some of this sock knitting, it's on number 1 number size. I'm knitting on US 1s, which are 2.25 millimeter. So they're tiny to begin with, but I'm getting a little stressed out with some of them. So I think I'm knitting tighter than I normally would, or I'm holding them tighter than I normally would. So look at my hand. I don't know if you can, no, it's not going to show up. See if I can turn it. I don't know. Yes, there you can see. See this red here? I've actually got red on my wrist where the tendinitis is that irritated. So, and I've had a cortisone shot like right in here before. So, yeah, this has been fun. But I do want to send a thank you out to Juanita. Brilliant idea. It was such a simple idea. I should have thought of it because I've heard other knitters talk about it before. Duh. Just never occurred to me. So thank you, Juanita. It was a lifesaver. It really was. What Juanita recommended to me, if you watched last week's episode, it was like the little yarn minions were jumping all over the place. Every time I turned around, there was yarn stuck to each other. Sort of like when I had the Velcro minions attacking a few episodes ago. But anyway, she suggested, why don't I put them so that all the socks were getting tangled up, the little balls of yarn for the socks were getting tangled up. She says, why don't you put them in little Ziploc bags? Thank you. Lifesaver, yes. So anyway, we will start with this. This has been so much easier because all I've been doing is pulling out the yarn, and then pulling out the project and then zipping this shut, not all the way, but just to the edge so that the ball doesn't come flying out, and it just stays in its neat little package. And it doesn't tangle up with all of its other little yarn friends. So this is my 9-inch circulars. For those of you who have not watched this the last couple episodes, we have a sock along going on, and so I decided as an experiment I wanted to do a comparative knitting section where I was knitting 4 socks 3 different ways. So that's what's been going on the last couple weeks of the sock along. So here's my first pair. This is the way I am most familiar with, and to be honest, this is the way I like the best still. These are 9-inch circulars, and I have completed, these are just shorty socks, by the way, so you're not going to see a big thing going up my leg. This is the cuff, and then I completed the heel flap and the gusset. I'm getting ready to go down across the foot at this point. So that's what I've done this week with this sock. So I have that one going on. Then I have some that are on DPNs. And I've done the same amount of progress on all of them. I'm trying to knit them consecutively, just, you know, one section at a time. So I'm doing the same section so I can truly have a comparison of the different knitting techniques. And this is the 3-inch circulars. And again, I have the heel flap and gusset. And these two are going to be, of course, a pair. So right now, even though I'm knitting 2 different techniques, they seem to be staying pretty much the same size. I would say the DPNs are maybe a little bit tighter knit when you look at the 2 together. And it's funny, they're almost exact. Look at that. I couldn't have done that again if I tried. That's by pure accident, but yeah, they are looking truly like a pair. They're at this point, they are completely and perfectly matching. I didn't do that on purpose. This is just, yeah, an accident in reverse. It actually is working out. So these are my DPNs. Now we come to my challenging knitting. I am knitting 2 socks at a time, and I'm knitting them on 2 circulars. Now, here's my progress. And of course these 2 will be a pair. And they are not exactly matching. They're pretty close, but they're not exactly matching. So here's the heel flap and the gusset on those. Now, I have since discovered, I knew when I was knitting these that when I knitted 2 at a time before, I did not remember using 2 sets of circulars. There's 2 different ways to knit 2 at a time. I was watching Nina Phillip with the Knitting Expat, and she happened to hold up a pair, because she always knits 2 at a time. She held up hers, and she had 2 socks on 1 circular and was doing magic loop. Okay, which might be a little bit easier than what I'm doing. This technique where you've got 2, it's basically the magic loop without the loop. Instead of having to do the magic loop, you have 2 sets of circulars. The hardest thing to remember with this is when you are knitting, like right now I am knitting this front section along here. You have to make sure you knit the front circular with the front circular. And when you turn it around to knit the back, you have to knit the back circular with the back circular. I got turned around at one point, and you literally end up knitting the sock right off of the needles. You'll end up with a band of it all on one circular, and then you have to transfer everything back. So to keep me from doing this, this was my high-tech solution last week. So I could keep track of which side of the sock I was on. I have 1 stitch marker, 2 stitch markers, and then over here I have 3 and 4. So I could keep track. Now, I did have somebody ask me about these stitch markers, and I had to ask which ones, because I have 2 different that are my favorite. I like these cute little stitch markers. In fact, I used to have some in my Etsy shop that have cute little charms that hang off of them and everything. The problem with those, I mean, they look really pretty and they sound all jingly and everything while you're knitting. They do tend to get snagged in your knitting. Sometimes the simplest is the best. So the knitting markers that I tend to use, there's this type, which look like kind of like little light bulbs, if you can see them. Let me see if I can hold this up close enough so you can see them. There. There's this type. These are super cheap. I will put a link down below. You can get them on eBay. I think there's a couple hundred for, I'm thinking it was like $1.50, $1.60, something like that. It was under $2 for a whole bunch of them. So there's that type of stitch marker. And then there is, these are the 2 that I use the most. Then there's this type of stitch marker. These are actually not stitch markers at all. What these are, I went to Joann's. These are jump rings. I found them in the jewelry department. They actually have, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, they have a little split. If you see it, my thumb right here. So I can get this close enough so you can see it. They actually split. I could bend there. Now you can see it. I can actually bend it apart. I just bought a whole bunch of them. I think there was about 50 for $2 or $2.50, and then I used a 40% off coupon, and then I just squeezed the rings together. I think the simple ring markers are the easiest. You can also buy just plain plastic ones. You can get those at pretty much any place. Joann's carries it, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, all of those. And they're just a little white plastic ring. I just think those are the simplest out of all of them. They don't snag. They slide from needle to needle easiest, and they're cheap. There's really, you know, I just don't think you need to spend a lot of money. They look pretty. Like I said, it's like knitting jewelry, but I very rarely use my fancy stitch markers because that's what happens. I've actually used most of my little fancy stitch markers. I've put those little light bulb looking stitch markers on them and used them as progress keepers instead. Simply because they just aren't practical. They look cute, but they're not practical. So, anyway, that was a little off the rabbit trail a little, but back to our sock along. The sock along is running till the end of this month. All you have to do is submit a pair of completed socks. I did have somebody ask me in the Ravelry group, could they submit a crocheted pair? And they showed me a picture of them. They're gorgeous. I love the colors because I like fall colors. But yes, you can submit crocheted socks. Socks of any kind will count. We aren't picky here. We're all into crafting and we're just into having some fun. So it can be knitted, it can be crocheted. Either way, it could be Tunisian crocheted. It could be any of those things. Yeah, it's just a pair of socks. And so just to enter the giveaway, you just have to submit a picture in the Ravelry group. And again, the link is down below. If you go to the Ravelry group, put your picture in and tell me something about your socks. It can be anything. It can be what the pattern was. It can be what the yarn was, what you like about it. Yeah, tell me anything about the sock. And that will get you entered into the giveaway. And the giveaway winner will be drawn on March 3rd on that episode. And the winner will win a up to $6 pattern off of Ravelry. So you do have to be a Ravelry member in order to I guess, submit and to participate. If you're not a Ravelry member, but you want to be and you don't know how to do it. I was going to do a Ravelry tutorial, but I couldn't make my camera work at the right speed to record my computer. However, there is a really good Ravelry tutorial, how to sign up and everything. I will put the link to that below as well. It's a channel. She doesn't have that many videos out, but it was an excellent tutorial on how to get set up on Ravelry. Ravelry is free, doesn't cost anything, and it has thousands of free patterns. And I mean, you can get paid for patterns, but it has free patterns for crocheters, for knitters, whatever. It's got tons of stuff. It's a fun, it's sort of like Pinterest. You could get lost in it. So anyway, that is the information on our sock along. I'm talking about the knitting 2 socks at one time. I did order a couple of books from my library, but because I wasn't there Wednesday, I didn't get to bring them to show. So I will show them for next week. I did find 2 other books on knitting socks 2 at a time. And so I wanted to see how they did it, whether they used 2 circulars or if they used 1 circular and did it magic loop. And one of the books is doing it from the toe up, which I've never done before. I've always done from the cuff down. I've never done toe up socks. And I really want to do toe ups. I mean, I know how they would work. And if I really sat down and thought about it, I could do it. But if somebody's got a pattern written up, that's so much easier than me trying to figure it out, because I don't like to have to think if I can avoid it. So next week I will show you those books when they come in. So let's go on to acquisitions. I have lots today. I did a little shopping. Actually, some of the yarn was free, so it was exciting. First thing I've got, there is a free website that I wanted to tell you guys about. It's called Universal Yarn, and I'll put it in the down bar here. It is a free website. It's not like Ravelry, but they sell yarn. They have like a little newsletter, and they offer free patterns every so often. And this pattern came through today, and I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous. If I can get close enough to see, these little designs in it are little hearts. And the pattern is called Be Mine Shawl. You know, like the little candy hearts that say Be Mine on them. And it is written, it's written in a written form, but it's also written in a charted form. I can do either. I prefer the written form. I guess there's another better picture of this pattern. But anyway, it is a free pattern. Yeah, there you can see some of the little hearts. And it's a good sized shawl. It says its wingspan is 62 inches and it's 31 inches deep, like to the point. So, and it has like it looks like a little picot edge, and it has a little center section running down here, which are like yarn overs. So it looks like it's either a triangular or maybe like a wide triangular, not quite a crescent shawl. So I saw it and I thought it was a really pretty pattern and thought, I don't know what I'm going to make with it, but there it is. So now we'll get into some of the free stuff I got this week. First, I went to, I have a Knit Crate subscription, and watch sometime else this week. I do have a Knit Crate that's in the process of being shipped. It should be here in the next couple of days. So there will more than likely be another midweek little mini episode where I do the unboxing for the Knit Crate. I was hoping it'd be in for today, but it hasn't come in yet. But anyway, with Knit Crate, you get what they call stash points. And when you get enough stash points, you can cash it in for yarn or patterns or whatever. So I cashed it in for yarn. And this is called, the glare. There we go. Chasing Rabbits Fiber Company. This yarn is gorgeous. It's really, really soft. And the colors, I'm looking in my monitor, the colors are pretty true to form here. The color is called Forager's Harvest. And this is an Etsy shop called, I'll put it up on the down bar, it's called Chasing Rabbits Fiber. And this is a fingering weight 4-ply, 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. So you could use it for socks. I'm not. I am putting this with some yarn that I got a while back. This was Ancient Fiber Arts, and I'm going to put these two together because look how well they go. And this kind of brown color here is the same color that is in here. So I think these are going to go fairly well together. I don't know for what, but I'm going to put these two together. And I have this solid color that I bought a while back. I think I got this at my local yarn shop too. That also will go nicely with it. It's kind of a rust color. In fact, it's almost the same rust color that's in my poncho. But the rust colors are in both of these yarns. So these are what I'm thinking of putting together. So anyway, I got this. Now here's the crazy thing. This was the gifts, stash points I had was $25 worth. And this, I think, was like 18 or 19 for this. And how many yards? I didn't tell you how many yards are in it, did I? No, I did not. There are 437 yards or 400 meters in this. So it's a good amount of yarn. So anyway, I had money left over out of my $25, and I wanted to spend it because it was like burning a hole in my pocket. So I bought a needle guide. Now I ordered them at the same time. You'd think they would have shipped them together, but they didn't. So it's supposed to come like today, later today or tomorrow. So I'll show it in the next podcast. But anyway, I have an old needle gauge, but I'm not sure how old it is, but it doesn't have millimeters in it. It only has the US sizes. So every time I knit something, I have to go and like Google or look up a needle chart to find out what the millimeter is as opposed to what the US size is. Because some of my needles are in millimeters because I've gotten them off of eBay and they've come from Europe. So, yeah. So anyway, I have a needle gauge coming, but it hasn't gotten here yet. Then I was at my local yarn store. After you spend a certain amount of money each year, you get, if you reach that goal or whatever, then you get a $25 like free shopping spree for $25. So I did that this week too. So let me show you what I got. First off, I bought this. This is LRA Cozy Soft. It's machine washable wool blend. I have one skein of this already, but I wanted a second skein. There are 213 yards or 195 meters. This is 75% acrylic, 25% wool. But I like the colors in it because, you know, me with purples and teals and all that kind of stuff. And this has a little bit of both. It has like some blues. Not so much, well, yeah, more like kind of denim-y color blues. It has different shades of blues and turquoises. And like I said, I have another skein of this. So I'm thinking it's going to be something with a hat scarf combo type of thing. Or mittens. I'm not sure. It's outerwear of some sort. As of yet to be determined, and probably not determined this year, because by the time I would get it knit, I wouldn't need it anymore. So this will be something for next year. So I got this. And then, a while back, I had bought this from Ancient Arts Fibers. This is also from my local yarn shop. And you can see, it looks red in here, but it's actually kind of a cranberry color. See if I can get it to show up a little bit better. Yeah, it looks red there. Well, it looks like there's a lot of black in it, and it looks like the colors just are not showing up real well. Anyway, it has some cranberry color in it. So I got this. This is also the LRA Cozy Soft. I got gray and the burgundy to go with this. There you can see some of the cranberry. So that is what is going with these. And this is kind of, it looks black in the picture. It's not. It's a real deep purple. So these are going together. And again, I'm not quite sure into what, but I think they will look nice together. So that is also in the Cozy Soft. And then, because I would have felt really ignorant only going up there and saying, I came for the yarn, and just getting the freebie stuff, because I think that would be tacky, I wanted to at least buy something. So, you know, you had to really stretch it out of me, you know, pull my leg to get me to buy more yarn. Anyway, they had this, and I thought it was pretty. This is called Alpaca Divine. It's by Carlton. And this was a relatively cheap yarn. I think the price on this is like $9. It is so soft because it's got the alpaca in it. It's 10% alpaca, 10% wool, 80% acrylic, and it is 601 yards. It is definitely like between a fingering and a lace weight. But look at the colors. This blue here is such a vibrant blue, it is almost a purpley blue. It doesn't show up as well as it is, but I thought it was pretty. So, and it's got some grays in it, and I have some solid gray that I could even put with it. And there's some light blue in here too. You can see this color in here that looks kind of white. It's actually not. It's a real pale light blue. So I bought that. And lastly, I'm putting this in acquisitions because I can't remember if I talked about it last week or not. I ordered some yarn from Craftsy. When I initially did, this is the pattern I designed called Keeping You in Stitches Shawl. It is available on Ravelry. There's a coupon code for it. If you put in KC10, you'll get 10% off. It's a $5 pattern, so 10% will get it to you for $4.50. Anyway, it is a whole different, the shawl changes lace stitches, but they're very basic lace stitches all the way through. And I've made it twice before. I made this one in the yellow, and it's in different shades of like a gold as it goes up. It starts with the dark, and it goes, well, actually it starts at this end with the light and goes to the dark. And then I made it in a purple and gray variegated. So I wanted to make it in a solid color to see what it would look like in a solid, so people could kind of envision it a little bit better, so they could see different styles that they could do the shawl in. So I bought some yarn from Craftsy because they were running a really good sale. It was like 50% off. So I think each skein of yarn cost me, it was under $3. So all total, I think I spent $12 in yarn and like $3 and something for shipping. It was $15.99 for 4 skeins of yarn. Now the pattern here calls for fingering weight, and it's roughly around 650 yards. The yarn that I bought is Cloudborne, and it's sport weight. Here's what it looks like. It's looking blue in the picture. It's actually a deep turquoise color. And it's called Caribbean is the color. So if you go over to Craftsy and look at Caribbean, you'll see what the real color, because their photos show up better. But anyway, this is a real deep turquoise. And I've already got it skeined up, because as soon as I finish my On the Spice Market, this is going on the needles. I bought 4 skeins of it. Each of their skeins has, let me see, 200 yards in it. So I bought 800 yards of the yarn, because, like I said, this is done in a fingering weight. This is a sport weight, so it is a little bit heavier, so I will take it up. I take the needle size up a little bit. I'm not sure to what. This one is done in a US 4 needle, so I'm thinking I will probably do this in a 5 or a 6. So I wanted to make sure I had plenty of yarn. I'd rather have too much than too little. So I bought 4 skeins of it, and since it was like just a little over $2 a skein, I'd rather have too much. So I have all 4 balls ready to go. So here they are. And yeah, that's my next project. So that is my acquisitions for this week. Again, watch for the Knit Crate unboxing, which should be midweek. And if any of you have anything you want to post in show and tell, you can again send me an email at KatrinasCreations@yahoo.com. And for next week's episode, I had thought about doing a yarn pairings. In other words, showing you some of the yarns that I have and what I'm going to put them together with, whether it's, some of the yarn together or what pattern I'm going to do them with. So if you would be interested in seeing something like that, give me a thumbs up. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to leave comments down below. I do reply to everybody. So, and I enjoy chatting back and forth with everybody. And if you have tips, like Juanita's wonderful tip, please feel free to leave me tips. I need all the help I can get. And otherwise, I guess that is it for this week. And I will see you again sometime midweek whenever my knit crate comes in. Otherwise, we'll have our regular podcast again on Saturday. So talk to you again next week. Thanks for tuning in. See you later, guys.